Okay, good afternoon, dear participants. Now it's my pleasure to welcome you back to the conference as we continue our exploration of innovative practices in English language teaching. I am Sadia Irshad, your host for this session, and I'm excited to guide you through our next enlightening workshop. Today, we have the privilege of having Dr. Sadia Irshad from Air University, Islamabad, leading a workshop titled The Art of Prompt Engineering, Transforming Lesson Planning and Materials for ELT. She is Assistant Professor, Department of English, Air University, Islamabad. Dr. Sadia Irshad holds the position of Assistant Professor of Linguistics. And beyond her commitment to innovative English language teaching methods, particularly in the realm of technology-enhanced language learning, Dr. Sadia Irshad also investigates pedagogical strategies in diverse technological and linguistic settings. Dr. Sadia's workshop promises to be a deep dive into the transformative world of prompt engineering, offering insights into how it can elevate lesson planning and materials development for English language teaching. Without further ado, let's warmly welcome Dr. Sadia Irshad to the stage. Please, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Sadia. And thank you, Hassan Saab. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, all of you. I hope you are all doing great and enjoying the conference and the sessions that were there in the morning and yesterday's session as well. So today I'm going to talk about the much used thing that is ChatGPT, but I'll talk about it in the way that how to generate right prompts so that you have right results. And this workshop is basically for the teachers, but I'll try to include some things with some of the things which are important for the students too, right? So when we talk about the art of prompt engineering, this is the term which you may have heard after the emergence of ChatGPT too often. Previously, we used to use the word prompt for some other purposes. But after ChatGPT, this prompt and then prompt engineering is very much linked to this generative AI tool. Though there are many generative AI tools, but we focus mostly on this particular one, that is ChatGPT, which is used by most of us most of the time, right? So therefore, I'll be talking about more of ChatGPT, but of course, I'll be talking about Bing as well, because there are places where Bing is more helpful. Then I'll ask you that why and how do you make use of it, right? So this is a little bit of overview of whatever I'm going to talk about. So let's proceed. If I'll talk about my own experience regarding this, so I have been working on the use of technology in ELT from ever since when I started doing my MPhil. So that was the first time when I did my thesis on computer-assisted language learning. But at that time, the use of technology was quite limited. I used to use a floppy drive at that time. And then later on, it was CD, and later on, there were other things. And I used to do it like for every student, I used to make a different copy and then just insert that floppy into their computer system and then just put the program there. And now we see that the things are quite changed. Now it's just my screen, and with my screen, I'm sharing all the things with you. And I can, with one click, I can share it with many students through WhatsApp or through Zoom or through so many other means, right? So this is how the technology is transforming. And when we talk about ChatGPT, well, it's beginning in November 2022, and I started making use of it in January 2023. And even like Ilka was talking about, when one of my students, he told me that, ma'am, have you seen that? So I thought that maybe it's another technological tool for doing some language things, or for maybe for teaching, or for producing certain things like we used to use Edpuzzle or certain other tools. But then I saw and I thought that it's something which is going to transform the academia altogether. And to some extent, maybe I'm right, because today, to whatever I see and the way my the presenters who were talking before me, they were also talking about that AI scare. So still we are scared of this AI, especially teachers. For students, even they are not very much sure how to make use of it and what is the effective use of it and where to go and where not to go. Should I mention making use of it before my teacher, or should I not mention making use of it before my teacher? Should I hide it, or should I openly just claim that, yes, I'm in make use of it? Same goes with teachers. And same goes with so many other people who are working in different domains. I think so most of us are making use of it, but most of us are still not very much sure how to describe it. Okay, so moving on, I'll talk about then the project which I am doing. I'm doing that, I won that project with my some co-PIs, like Dr. Farzana Masood is there with me, and Dr. Maria Farooqman is there with me in this particular project that is for training teachers. So this project is basically focusing on the training of the prospective teachers. I consider that our BS students, they are the prospective teachers for schools and colleges, and our MPhil scholars, they are the prospective teachers of the universities. Most of them join the academia right after their BS or this field of education, or this field of language education particularly, after doing their BS or after doing their MPhil. So I think so there should be some courses that are to be there in the their curriculum, so that they can be prepared, or they can be skilled for language teaching. So therefore, we introduced one course that is Introduction to Computer-Assisted Language Learning for BS English 8th semester students. And we implemented that in the previous semester. I taught that course, and the experiment was really successful. And this semester, I'm teaching to MPhil the course that is named as Technology Enhanced Language Learning and Teaching. So that's also going pretty well. I'll ask my students to give you some feedback, or if you get the chance, you can talk to them. So you would get to know that they are really learning so many new things. Okay, so moving on. You all, by now, we are all familiar with AI, generative AI. Just a little bit of misconception. We often confuse AI with generative AI. AI had been there, if we talk about in making use of it in a language or in writing or in reading in one way or the other. For example, we all make use of Microsoft Word, and when we are editing it, or when we are just writing it, it actually tells us that this is the mistake there. So that's basically the initial AI thing, which was there. And then you have the option of replacing it with some synonyms as well. So a sort of an artificial intelligence was already there, like Wilson was talking about. He was giving the reference to the sense and reference. So based on that language model which is there in the computer system, it's already helping us, the language users, right? When we talk about generative AI, how it's different from the previous AIs is that it has the ability to instantly create the things, and it is based on the same model which was proposed initially by Noam Chomsky, NLP, and then now it's basically a large language model, which has the larger data, and what it is doing, it's basically doing two things. One, it decodes the message, and the second thing is it predicts. So if you would say that it is creating, it's not actually creating things, it's predicting. So if we talk about our own selves, do we create or we predict? I would say we human beings also predict. Why? Because we are working on our prior knowledge, isn't it? If there is nothing here, can you create something? So we need an input to create. So same goes with this technology. But I must say that it's machine creativity, but though it's not creativity, it's prediction, because it predicts what's going to come next, right? So these are the two things which it is doing, like it's a decoder, right? So it's a decoder that is only a transformer model of deep neural networks. So if you just think of your brain having those neural networks and the schema that you have, so I think so you can understand that. Moving on to the next concept, which is there, that's related to prediction. I talked about it. It's a guessing game. If you say what it is, it's a guessing game. It makes a guess. Yes, this would come next. You would give the same prompt to it, next time it would guess it in another way, right? So it's all the time what it is doing, it's making a guess, it's predicting. So why do we say that we beware of it? Because it doesn't just copy paste the entire paragraph. Rather, it takes a chunk from here, chunk from there, the way you formulate your message. Okay, I'll just scroll it up. It's doing something weird. Okay, now moving on. Now let's talk about teachers as technology users, like I talked about it. We teachers and you learners, we are all technology users. So when we talk about that we as the, yes, please. It's not going. I checked that. It's just a warning. It's not going. I'll just scroll up. Okay. Try that. Because maybe the signals are weak here in this corner. That's why. That's the reason. Okay, so yes, it's gone. Okay, so let's talk about teachers as technology users. When we talk about teachers as technology users, we talk about all the learning theories that these teachers over here must have studied, or those who are the students of applied linguistics, they must have studied those. We talk about basically the constructivism, and we talk about humanistic approach and connectionism. So these are the basic three. I'm not going to put all of them, starting from behaviorism till what is there today. We talk about task-based language learning and teaching, which is based on communicative language teaching approach. So just a little bit of it so that all of you can understand. When we talk about constructivism, we talk about basically that whatever we are constructing that is based on our prior knowledge. So what is important? Important is the input. Similarly, for the computer, it's important that what input you are providing it. Therefore, prompt engineering is important, that what prompt you are going to create. So tomorrow, if you would claim that that poem is mine, which is actually created by ChatGPT, you can make a claim based on it because you asked this computer to do that thing. It was basically your prompt behind it, but you may say that it's a co-authored thing, right? A co-authored poem, right? Or a co-authored novel or a textbook, anything. Okay, this is what I learned from Dr. Lance Cummings. We have had a chance to had a discussion with him. We attended 2 webinars with him. So he talked about it, that this is how we just move on in this world, but still we are not sure about many things because it's too young. ChatGPT is too young to be talked about, right? So, and our knowledge is just we are growing with it, right? Okay, so second is humanism. When we talk about humanism, we talk about self-actualization, we talk about the learning environment, we talk about taking people with you, right? We talk about that you make people feel comfortable, right? And make fulfilling their needs. Connectionism, again, when you connect to it. And in fact, this ChatGPT is a sort of a connection, isn't it? You talk to it and it tells you that, sorry, I don't know the answer of this thing. Have you done that? Or if you ask it that, how's the weather? And maybe it would say something like that, that I cannot comment on it right now. My weather is the same all the time. What about yours, right? So then you can talk like that. So here, for we as teachers, we are always late. You as students, you are always fast, right? This is the fact, and we agree to that. We talk about acceptance of anything, and especially acceptance of technology. Like you are digital natives, we are the immigrants, right? We actually adopted it, but you were born with it, right? And the next generation, they are super tech savvy. And because what I see, my daughter used to talk to this Google Assistant. Hey, Google Assistant, today your language is Urdu. Let's talk in Urdu. Hey, Alexa, what's your favorite color? And the way she talks is a different thing. And the way I talk, I cannot talk like that. That's a different thing. I'll be just typing my message into it. I'll be never comfortable in putting my phone over here and saying things to it, right? So this is what is the generation change. But we have to be with it. So therefore, I brought over here technology acceptance model, which is basically talk about 2 basic things. It's a very old model, 1989 model, not a new one, though there are many revisions to it. So it's basically talk about 2 important things. How do we perceive technology? We perceive that it's useful, we adopt it. And second thing, we see that how much easy it would be to make use of, right? So basically, based on these 2 things, we make use of it. Sorry. Moving on to the, okay, let's have a quick contribution from your side. Here, I'll just, I have asked one question. I think so you can all see it on the screen. What is your purpose for using ChatGPT or Bing? So open slido.com, just open that, put this code there. You can see the code and write down your purpose. Now it's your work now because it's a workshop. Slido.com. Did you get the page? Done? So now 7 typing. This is the tool which teachers can easily use to ask a simple question at the start of the class as a ice-breaking activity, or maybe somewhere in the middle for a short pop quiz. Okay, the code is 3565021. Those who cannot see from that side, it's 3565021. So I got many responses. So most of them are talking about assignment. Okay, understand. Head start, general knowledge, access, writing, exams, presentations, project, author, studies, quizzes, books, prepare, attempt, information, syllabus. Okay. So assignment is still the biggest one. Okay, research is coming up now. What is this called? What is being developed over here? What is this called? Word cloud, right? Okay, so let's move on. So all of you have your reason for making use of it. Let's move on to the next thing. Those who are teachers over here, I would ask you, just tell me, what are your essentials for your everyday lesson? What are your to-do list? What's in your to-do list? This is the thing which I'll be doing before going to the class. This is the thing which I'll be doing before going to the class. So what are the things? Yes, from there. Okay, planning.
So the most important thing for the lesson is planning, and then you implement the lesson with the methodology relevant to it. And then you exhibit class activities with your students, and then you facilitate students wherever they need your facilitation or help. Then you come towards, wrap up session where the feedback or related to that activity is taken from the students. And then in this way, you even wrap up the findings of that activity as a teacher in general in the class. And in this way, we end up our lesson.
Okay, so you have quite rightly talked about whatever is going on in the class. If I'll ask you before the lesson, what are the things that are needed? Anyone? Objectives, okay.
To formulate some objectives of the
Formulate
lessons.
objectives, okay. Yes,
Warm-up activity.
warm-up
And quite
activity,
often I used ChatGPT.
okay.
Yeah, to give me some,
Ideas, right,
relevant to
okay,
my objectives.
okay, yes. Readiness for the technological tools to be used in the class. So let's see what I have with me, because I'll be talking about these things. Lesson plans, your educational materials, and then of course, a conducive environment where everything is right in place. So we'll talk about, and of course, we cannot ignore engaged students. So that's the most important thing. Student engagement is the single most important factor in the classroom. If it's not there, I don't feel like continuing. I feel like stopping there and just getting into that point. Why is this student not listening to me? Maybe my lecture is quite boring, or maybe that student is not interested in this. Let's have a change of topic or something like that. Okay, so this ChatGPT provides us with the opportunity to engage the learners in number of ways, and you have your ready material with you all the time. So I say that it's a sort of thing that is going to save you. It's a savior. How can it improve, like right prompt engineering? You can create high quality content because your content would be on the topic which you want, and it would help you to create some activities which would engage the learners in a sort of a collaborative manner. And there would be some innovative solutions like she was talking about. For example, previously when we have to go for some role plays, so I used to search for hours on the internet that, okay, what scenario would suit my students? Now I give the prompts and I get the scenario, that these are the scenarios which I want, right? So this is what are the innovative solutions that you have. So let's talk about the best practices which I have taken from the different sources. So clearly communicate what content or information is most important. Structure the prompt, start by defining its role. So 3 important things: role, context, and the task, what you want it to do. So again, what is important? Input is important. Remember, I talked about input is important. If there is the proper input, you would get the right output. And you can tell it that what sort of output do you want. For example, design a lesson plan. It knows that now it's a design of the lesson plan. A warm-up activity, you want a warm-up activity sort of on the flashcard. So a flashcard for that. So you need to specify what output you need from that, right? Moving on, use specific varied examples. So that's again very much important. Use constraints to limit the scope of models output. Break down complex tasks into simpler tasks so that it may understand. I have seen some of us try to go for structured prompts and give it a very long sort of a prompt. And at the end of it, it asks, okay, what do you want? Can you please tell me this thing? Can you please tell me that thing? Though you have given a very, very long prompt, but it's not sequenced that way, the way it demands, right? Okay. Instruct the model to evaluate or check its own response before producing them. Make sure to limit your response to 3 sentences. Be creative. Here, your creativity would come. You have to be creative in writing your prompt. That's what is important. For example, for students, because I'll be talking about students as well. For example, you wanted to create a short story for you. So you can give it the characters, you can give it the description of the dress, you can give it so many other details, the scene as well. You don't want your character to roam in the Isles of Rome. You want your character to be there in Dera Nawab, or maybe in Lahore, right? Or in any local vicinity, right? So this is what is important, that you provided the context where you want your character to be placed, right? Okay. So you have to be creative then. Let's talk about types of prompts which are there. Some are too direct, so we can make use of them as well. For example, can you give me a list of ideas for warm-up or ice-breaking activities for my beginner English language learners whose local language is Urdu, right? So you can simply give this straightaway prompt and you can have your response there. For example, I gave this prompt, the same which is there. Just to save time, I already read that. So you see that I have all these over here, right? So there are 14 ice-breaking activities. I can choose which I want today, right? Okay. Then next is the role prompt. It's really a bigger one. You assign it a complete role. Now, if you just go through it, you can see that it's going to take you in sequence so that you can have your right content. So you can create such prompt, you can copy it and you can paste it in the browser and it would provide you the information that you require, right? So how would it go? Now look at it. How many of you are interested in trying this? Should I share it with you? All of you are not logged into that Zoom account, isn't it? Okay. So I'll show you that how would it be doing. Now, this one. So it's a bigger prompt, and it's basically you are a mighty and powerful prompt generating robot. You need to understand my goals and objectives and then design a prompt. The prompt should include all the relevant information, context, and data that was provided to you. You must continue asking questions until you are confident that you can produce the best prompt for the best outcome. Your final prompt must be optimized for clear interactions. Start by asking me to describe my goal, then continue with follow-up questions to design the best prompt. So this is how you would just interact with it, right? And if you see that I just interacted with it for some time and I received certain responses, right? Sometimes I was very just precise, like intermediate. My level of my students is just intermediate. So this is how then it talks about more things. Then I asked role play is the activity which I want, because I asked it that I want to develop my students' language skills, right? So this is how you can just get your activities, your material. Moving on. We can use it for research purposes as well or data organization. Over here, this prompt, create a 4-column spreadsheet of 10 highly rated science fiction movies, year of release, average audience rating, and top 3 keywords from audience reviews. Make sure to cite the source of the audience rating. I changed this prompt and gave ChatGPT the prompt something like this for the books. And I'll tell you, see. This was the prompt which I gave. Spreadsheet, 10 acclaimed books on English language teaching, year of publication, number of reviews, and top 3 keywords from reader reviews. Make sure to cite the source of the book award, right? And you have got all of it, but the twist is just there. Look at the disclaimer. Read it. Right? So what it says, after providing you with all the details, that don't rely on me, right? So then I tried the same in Bing. How many of you make use of Bing? Not you. Do you make use of Bing? One? Okay. If you don't, try making use of it because it provides you with the real reference. If you are a researcher, you should go for it. And if you want to do something authentic, go for it. This is the real, I would say, could be a real game changer if you make use of it. Because, yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. So BARD can also be relied on, but I have also made use of BARD, but I found it limited in its scope because it provides too precise answers. And sometimes we need some expanded sort of answers and some elaborated answers too, right? So of course, that's also very good. You can also make use of it, but I have not made use of it quite much, so I cannot comment much on that, right? Okay, so you see over here, what's the important point? You can see all these references, and these are real references. Like you click it and you would go to the source, right? The source is there. Another interesting thing with this one, there are 3 things to it. It's just chat. Then it has compose as well. So what's there in this category? In compose, system is working a little bit slow. Okay, so you can add your prompt here. Then you can talk about its tone. In ChatGPT, you have to tell that what should be the style, what should be the tone. So here you have the option of the tone. Then you have the option of the format. It could be a paragraph, email, ideas, blog post. Then the length, short length, medium length, or long. What sort of an answer you want. So you can just decide on it, and then you can have your response to that one, and then you can preview your answer here, right? Okay. Going back to it. So we have done one, that is the simple sort of an instruction that you can give to the ChatGPT or Bing or Bard. Secondly, we have talked about assigning it a role. Third thing that we have talked about it for data organization. How can you organize your data with it as well? Moving on to the next thing, prompting with examples. So you can also prompt it with one, few, or multiple examples. So here it is talking about come up with a list of ideas for blog posts for tourists visiting New York City for the first time, right? So, and it is giving one example as well. For example, you can have your prompt for for someone to visit Islamabad, right? And you can give one prompt that maybe they should visit Faisal Mosque or Centaurus based on your preference, right? So what sort of a response then you would get? Then there could be few and multi-shot prompting. So here you provide some more response, more answers, more examples to it. For example, for sentiment analysis, again, it's a tool that many linguists make use of for doing their discourse analysis. So a sentiment analysis can also be done with the help of this tool. So it's just one example. So it's not only for the linguists, it's being used by the people who are studying in the media studies courses or something like that, or even in IR, they also go for sentiment analysis, right? So it's not limited to English linguistics, the students of linguistics, or just the English department. So you can provide the prompt, and with the prompt, you can provide the examples that this is the positive, this is the negative, this is how it's the positive. So I want you to produce the responses like this, and then it would provide the, for example, I've done one prompt over here, analyze the sentiments of the following statements, giving these examples, you would get the right response. Is it right? Let's move on. So that's the few short sentiment classification. Then we have multi-shot response. So you can have a multi-shot response as well. In multi-shot response, you can give the response in terms of only emojis. So it can provide you the response in terms of only emojis because students do make use of it. Then chain of thought prompts. So this is also a longer prompt that can be given to it. And then zero shot chain of thought. So it's again, I went to the market and bought 10 apples, and it's a long one. And let's think step by step. So when you are asking it to think step by step, it's going to give you the response in the same way where you are asking it to provide you the details step by step. For example, you want to give your students the guidance on writing an email, for example, writing a letter. So it would provide you all the details or all the instructions in that way, that this is how you can generate your activities. So what are the strategies that you can make use of while making your prompts effective? Like you can repeat keywords so that whatever you are doing with it, you are getting the right response which you want, right? Specify your desired output format. I've talked about it, so it's just to summarize all those points. You can use all caps to give stress on certain points so that whatever the response you are receiving, that's basically provided in that way, which you are asking it to provide. You can use synonyms or alternate phrasing so that you get the right response, because sometimes we are not satisfied and then we go for another prompt. So this is what, try the sandwich technique with using prompts, like you just sandwich your main thing and then the prompt before it and prompt after it. Often what we call pair prompts. For example, you want it to summarize, and at the same time you want it to be critical on certain points as well. So what do? You give the pair prompts as well. So pair prompting is also a technique which is used. For example, something which is in the beginning, a prompt in the beginning, then your text, and then another prompt at the end. So this is what is the sandwich technique. So you put the prompt that way so that you get the response which is needed or required for your lesson. For example, you want to develop some material. You can now develop materials with the help of it very easily. For example, you want the same Cinderella story for your grade 12 students. So you can ask it to just bring it to the level of the advanced level learners or intermediate level learners. So it can bring it to that level. So this is how you would do that. You have the prompt in the beginning, then your text in the middle, and then a prompt at the end. And you can easily do this in this chat GPT. Most of you don't have your laptops with you. Otherwise, we would have tried this thing as well. Okay, so here are two links which you can use for going for some prompts, Prompt Gallery and Prompt Hero, right? So these are some of the things which we are doing most of the time. We ask it to rephrase, we ask it to expand or summarize, we ask it to illustrate, we ask it to analyze, we ask it to evaluate, and we ask it to create. But actually it doesn't create anything on its own. It's only making a guess. This is what we talked about in the beginning, right? It's just predicting. It's just making a prediction based on whatever the knowledge it has, whatever the data is there in that large language model. So it's working on that large language model. It's for our understanding that we should know this. It's not generating it from somewhere in the cloud, right? So whatever the data is there, it's producing based on it. Therefore, it's biased. The way we are biased. We are all biased. We are all, yes, we are. Like whatever is your belief, you stay with that. Whatever is your, for example, whatever is the way you feel about the world, you stay with that. And you just talk about the things the way you have perceived them. So in the same way, it talks about the things which are fed into it. So that's what it is. Like, for example, if you are feeding a child with the negativity since the birth, you would find that child, the same negative child in the university as well. But if you feed the child with positivity and all the positive things around, then you find a difference. This is what is important for all of us, for the teachers and for the students. Though we can bring a change, though we can change opinion to some extent, but not to a greater extent, right? But for that, a lot of input is needed to change somebody's opinion. Therefore, we say somebody needs a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a counselor, right? So why do we need that? Just to give the input in that way, so that you can change somebody's schema to that direction. This is what is the role of preaching as well, right? Or preachers. So teachers are preachers, in fact. Okay, so it has the ability to create pictures as well. I'll just show you a few more things. Now the tool which I am making use of, it's Gamma. And it's something which is wonderful for teachers. Like you don't have a lesson, I'm not telling you a sort of a shortcut, but still if you don't have a lesson, so it's a sort of a thing which is going to save you at the 11th hour. You put the topic in it, and if you have the textbook, ask that summarize this chapter or just feed that chapter in it, it would give you the slides instantly. Then you can alter them and you can change them and you can just see that where you can play and how you can play with it and what you would be submitting or what you would be presenting in the class, right? So this Gamma app is very much effective. You can generate the pictures with it as well. For example, this is the icon over here. If you want it to create an image, you can simply write over here, create an image. Create an image of a girl, for example, holding a mobile phone, give a complete description, wearing shalwar kameez and her headscarf. It's up to you because previously we used to just try to find some things which are not blonde or which are wearing a shalwar kameez. So it's very hard to find those images. But now you can find those images as well. You can just give it a complete prompt. This is what you want your character to wear. Like Dr. Brent Warner, he showed yesterday a girl wearing shalwar kameez, and he created that with the help of that, obviously with some chat or with some bot, right? Chat bot or something like that. So you can create an image. It costs you 10 points. So you can see down there are some credits. So the secret is you send somebody a link and you would get 200 credits. This is what I used to do, so that I have more and more credit and more points with me. And this is what you can easily do. If you are introducing it to someone, send them a link, ask them to click this link so that you have 200 credit, right? And for every one image, image, you need 10 credits only. For one slide, 10 credits. So that's how it works. So far, it's very easy for me. Maybe later on, I have to change. Okay, moving on. So it's just about this, but there are so many other things which are there. For example, there is a slide format, and there are so many other things. Slide stack you can create. Previously, creating a hyperlink in Microsoft Word was a hell of a job, but now it's simple. You have to create a hyperlink. You have to create any sort of a link. For example, this is a sort of a link. I just pasted it over here and it's created as a link. If I would click it, it would take me to that page. So you can paste your books, you can paste the link to anything which you want. So in the middle of the lesson, you can open your book and you can show them that page or whatever you want. So we have talked about what are the key features. They are important that we have to be very much clear. I've talked about it a lot. They have to be accurate, but still flexibility is there. You can create a new prompt after receiving the output, which is not according to your desires. And sometimes you need to be consistent. My battery is running low, sorry. Okay, so these are the different roles which I took from Dr. Lance Cummings' site. And he actually talked about it that you should give it the role. Basically, he is the teacher of rhetoric. So he talks about ethos, logos, and pathos a lot. So he talks about that when teaching students writing skills. So taking care of what kind of a persona they want to present and what kind of reasoning is involved and what kind of emotional connection. But you can always talk about invention, organization, style, delivery, memory. For me, there are three important things which I find always very helpful. Like, for example, you provided the context, you provided the content that is needed, and you provided the task. So these are the three important things. If you have those three things in your prompt, you would get the right answer, right output. I talked about it earlier, and again, it's there just to give more emphasis to it. Using prompts in pairs is always helpful. I found it very much helpful. For example, summarize and analyze, transform and expand, generate and evaluate, curate and synthesize, plan and design. So these are the prompts which are helpful for most of the lessons and for most of the activities which you want. And other one could be like, you can easily ask it to create exercises for you. So it can create the exercises for the students to do practice on certain ideas. If you are teaching, for example, when I teach my students stylistics, I was teaching them iambic and trochaic foot, and I just took that thing from Paul Simpson. I gave it to ChatGPT and I asked it to create an exercise with the answers. But of course, I had to check that too. I had to see that all those answers were right or not, all those examples or all those things were according to my demands or not, of course. But the job is easier. I'm not saying completely easy, but easier comparatively, right? So these are the things which can be done. So same is the tip for the students. When you are preparing for your exams, what you can do, you can simply go to the ChatGPT, post the excerpt which you are reading, ask it to create a test for you. So you just test your own understanding by making use of ChatGPT. So there are hundreds of productive uses of ChatGPT which you can easily make. And this is one of them, that you can quiz yourself. You can make a quiz for yourself, right? And it can provide you with the answers as well, right? So this is what is very easy that you can do. So I have given you the example of Bing. So you can choose chat, you can choose compose, and there is insight as well. I have not tried that yet, so I cannot talk about that, right? Another tool which I would like you to explore, that is TWE. Dr. Ilka also talked about TWEE. It's basically tweak your lesson plans. It's related to, it's specifically for English language teachers or the language teachers. I have not tried any other language into it, but it's for English language teachers. And it has the complete interface, if I could show you over here, which is for all the activities. So it would take some time. I would, because we have to wrap up it in 5 minutes. So this is basically the interface. You just log into there and you can just, there is the complete interface where you have the reading activity option for creating reading activities, listening activities, speaking activities, and you just you can easily upload the YouTube video on which you want it to create some activities. So it would create those activities for you, right? So you can easily create engaging teaching materials using TWE, that is for tweak your lesson plans. So you can tweak your lesson plans with TWE. I have talked about it before that as well, approaches to lesson planning. So when we come to the close of it, I'll talk about it, that we teachers, when we are going to the classroom, we go with some approach or some idea behind whatever we are discussing in the class. And these days, usually we are focusing on content-based language teaching or the task-based language teaching, communicative approach, or we look for 3P approach, that is presentation, practice, and production. Some call it 4P approach, that is starting from planning. So you could have any approach which you are following in the classroom. And these days, the term which is very much introduced by Dr. Ilka and others as well, that is flipping the classroom, that you give them some task which they are to do before the class, and in the classroom ask them to present. So this ChatGPT has given you this opportunity that you ask your students to write an essay with the help of ChatGPT, and then in the classroom ask them to have a discussion on that essay with their fellows, and then have a presentation over here in the classroom. So with this invention of technology, I think so we have more time to interact with our learners. So we should make our learners talk to us and talk to each other more, instead of writing things most of the time. So now they have to make the discussions on, like, what's the difference between a ChatGPT created email or the email that you have written. So you can give them those sort of assignments. So this could be certain activities that could be introduced in the class, and you can easily do a sort of a flipping activity, like assign them, write an email with the help of ChatGPT at home, watch this video, and solve the questions which you have developed with the help of ChatGPT. They may use ChatGPT again for doing all those questions and then have a discussion in the classroom on those answers, right? So this is how we can engage our learners. So since we don't have time, so I'll not ask you to plan a lesson. Tips for successful prompt engineering. Collaborate with your colleagues. Ask them what are the best thing that you are doing. It's always important that we ask our colleagues what they are doing so that we can learn more. It's always advisable that I found it very much helpful if I ask someone, okay, Humayra, what are you doing these days? So whatever the response I get from there, I have now, previously I had one idea and I have two, and if I'm talking to one more, three. And this conference is also a sort of a collaborative event. It's a forum where we collaborate with others to get to know what people are thinking about and what people are doing. So we got to know what Ilka is doing in USA and what Wang is doing in UK, and he's a teacher in China. And then Dr. Kate, his teacher in KSA, Saudi Arabia, while he's a student in UK. So we get to know all these views, right? And enhanced teacher training. Teacher training is an ongoing process. We should all train ourselves. We should be taking like short courses or longer courses, like Coursera is there, or some workshops, webinars, attending webinars. Like Dr. Akifa was talking only yesterday, when you are spending most of your day in front of the computer, why not 40 to 45 minutes for a webinar or some sort of a course? So that's what is the advice, and I think so we should all just look for such things. So we must go for this enhancing our training instead of just looking for, okay, there'll be some announcement from the university, so I'll attend that professional development course. So I should go for it myself. So that's what is important. Embracing big data. So if we just go for bigger and bigger data, of course, we get to know about more and more things. So with this, I think so I have to close. All is done. Okay. Okay. We have 5 more minutes. 10 more minutes. Okay. Okay. That's perfect. Okay. So when we talk about embracing big data, most of you are familiar with corpus techniques or corpus approaches to language teaching. If not, I'll just talk about it a little bit. Before ChatGPT or before this LLMS, the biggest use of technology, sorry. Okay, so I was just talking about corpus-assisted approaches to language teaching. There we talk about data-driven learning. So if you are familiar with the corpus, like which is available, like we have British National Corpus, American National Corpus, is available for the ready reference. That was, I think, so sort of a history. Now you have this ChatGPT and you have this Bing, which is actually your reference point from where you can ask your students that they can easily see that what the level of their proficiency. And if you are talking about speaking, we have then Youglish for speaking, and there are certain other tools, so many other tools which are easily available on one click, where the students can practice their speaking, listening and speaking skills. For listening, Edpuzzle is a very good forum. You can have the ready-made activities and you can make for your students the activity with the help of Edpuzzle. It's ED, Ed, and then puzzle, right? Okay. So with this, I come to the end. So over here, we have top ways to use ChatGPT as student. I told you that my battery won't last much. So thank you so much for having and attending this session and listening to me. If you have any questions, I'm available to answer them. Do you have any? Yes, please.
Do you think that the GTM approach or
Okay, you are talking about grammar translation method. These days, we have given it a new fancy name, that's translanguaging, or no, it's different, but this is what usually people perceive, that translanguaging or the concept of biliteracy is very much aligned with the concept which was in grammar translation method. It's very much in practice these days, because often we see the students who are struggling with the language a lot, and they don't understand the concept which you are trying to tell them. Once you translate it into their language, they understand it instantly. So we cannot reject the concept of translating things. I guess this is my humble opinion. The floor is open.
My name is Yasser. I teach at Qaeda University. I'm glad that you brought up this topic. I think it was a wonderful topic to talk from a teacher's perspective, because we teachers, I remember like back in our days when some of the teachers would use those, khulasa type book to teach in the class, and they would hide that from their students because they didn't want to embarrass themselves. So I think an important part of using technology is that teachers embrace the fact that there is a technology out there and we need to incorporate that in our classrooms, and we should not be shy. Giving them the proper way of how to use those prompts and how to use it is really important. So I'm really appreciative of your talk on that. The second part is that how do we differentiate, probably, like how do we see that authenticity of like how we can put student through some intellectual labor through these exercises, because there's this big discussion that if something is easy, why would student put their efforts in doing something laborious? So I think that's a big discussion, and students would go for something which is easy. It's a very natural human instinct. So how do you see that in future, that we can still be intellectually engaging them and use the technology at the same time? Thank you.
Okay, thanks for your question. This is the debate which is there from the last day, and probably it's there from the with the invention of this tool, which was actually invented in 2015 and then was open. GPT-3 was open in 2017. We got it in November 2022 when OpenAI opened it, right? So the debate was there that to AI or not to AI, that's the famous phrase by Dr. Huma as well, who talked about it, to AI or not to AI. So, and then Dr. Akifa talked about AI scare. I agree to all these points, but I cannot give you any definite answer to it, because I cannot be sure about the things that are coming up. Because whatever is your AI policy, I hope all of us would be having, because for my classes, I have devised my use of AI policy for assignments and for whatever the tasks. So I have clearly asked them that this is what they can do and this is what they cannot do. So I think so what the best that we can do, we can educate them that this is what they can do and this is where they can make use of it, and this is where they cannot. If you talk about Turnitin would catch that use of AI, I'm afraid it's not doing it, because I have tested it. It's not doing it accurately. Some parts it's catching, but sometimes it's not. But sometimes it's catching that part which is actually human created and labeling it. And then it is saying that it could be a false positive. So we are hearing all these terms like false positive, false negative, all such things. So there's no definite answer to it. So we leave it open to technology, whatever it's going to do. It is going to decide the course of whatever is coming our way.
Here.
Yes, please.
First of all, thank you so much, ma'am, for your insightful discussion. I don't have any specific question, but I would like to just make a comment, and I want you to just like extend it to give us a deeper insight into the discussion. Like as you have already mentioned that context is something really important while generating prompt, right? So if we can, if we see the language teaching methodologies, for example, need analysis is something which AI cannot generate. AI does not have any idea about the needs analysis of the students, right? That's the
Yes,
first
yes,
thing.
Yes.
And the second thing I want to actually I want to emphasize is the nature of the coursework in our different kinds of courses, whether it is primary level, secondary level, or higher level. There's a general perception that the courses which are taught in Pakistani schools or universities, they are not up to date, right? While the chat GPT and all this AI generative thing is way much ahead of us. So my question I want you to just comment on it, just extend this discussion, that how it is unfortunate at the same time that we don't have any policy maker in this discussion, because he could have noticed it, like how we can actually make use of AI intelligence to actually improve our courseworks as well.
Okay, so what you are saying that how can we improve the curriculum that is already there? Most of the time in language education, teachers are autonomous. I believe this thing. Whether you are teaching at school or at whatever level, you have to improve their skills and their competencies. Rest is with you, how you are going to make use of it. So that's an answer for sure, that you can mold it any way you feel like, right? I hope it answered your question. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sadia. And thank you for all of you for your thoughtful questions. Let's express our appreciation to Dr. Sadia Irshad for her expertise and guidance in the art of prompt engineering. Take this knowledge and apply it to your teaching practices.